after a 2 month clandestine experiment that I'm only telling you guys now is that I'll be issuing a declaration about AI addiction and what I've seen as a deep dive myself into see if AI addiction really exists. As a part of this video, let's start this very simply. A few months ago in the beginning of sophomore year, I learned very little and I knew vaguely about AI addiction, but something in me sparked about it. And I got a little bit curious as I looked in various research articles regarding AI addiction. I'd faced another issue at least a year back when YouTube has their problems back then with inappropriate AI ads that they still won't moderate today regarding poly.ai ads. I'll link that below. It's unrelated, but it's another important landmark that I'm going to show. Early on in the year, though, not really much to note here since I was mostly busy with school, making video ideas, and entering high school sociality for the second time. So we'll skip ahead about 6 months later because there isn't really much for me to know here. I found interest when putting various prompts, but not much of the point how people think it is, at least in the way of addiction. So back to this back to this 2 months ago, after my birthday in late February, I began to realize the full extent of AI addiction and how I almost spiraled into complete addiction, and how two real life complexities unironically made this worse. It was about 2 months ago, late February, I began to realize two major things. This miniature experiment where I took a deep dive. Believe me, I felt skeptical about this idea, and I literally wanted to stop this experiment. But I thought the idea of addiction only belongs to like cancer sticks, babes, and like phone addiction. But it just took a deeper dive right here. As much as I want to believe myself, called AI addiction because it progressed very slowly in this clandestine experiment. It began with me prompting everyday problems such as fixing a bike to homework help, which I considered as okay a few weeks in. But it passed a boundary where I realized, like later on, as I myself didn't even realize, I began to spend my free time on it, putting my random thoughts and testing with random topics. And although I didn't get important advice, but most of it was self-affirming. Think of it like that. I did get a little bit of important advice, but most of it was self-affirming, as I said it. The problem with the AI. The problem is that it reaffirms your belief without challenges, and it drowns out other nuanced perspectives. For example, I put the prompt of a regular everyday person who made a difficult decision to divorce someone, and they absolutely said yes and that it's good, but they didn't show any other counter perspectives. In theory, this could have become socially isolating if I let this dangerous experiment keep on going, because only one view is being shown, while other people in real life can believe radically different things. I just occurred out though. I don't use AI for scripts, and I don't use AI for videos like these. I type it myself on the computer, or if I write it on paper, I type it from the paper onto the computer, for example. Or I use an AI generator to convert all the text in raw form into digital form, so I can just copy and paste it. But there's no modifications. All the modifications are done by me, and the improvements are done also by me. This also applies to the March 3rd declaration, which was also written by me, so just clearing that out before we go. Back to the main stuff. The more times I didn't talk with people in real life, the more times I end up wasting on AI during this experiment. And during the month of March, it then began to destroy my time, although I did try to resist it. And the nights I end up spending like 3 to 4 hours from like random searches to all the other interesting situations. And without even realizing, I wasted that time at all. And even time to work on other things, which also destabilized my sleep, for example. It also disrupts the natural order of how I want to do things. For example, if I want to spend time eating dinner, if I want to cook dinner, then that's like 2 hours already gone. I'm not going to have time. At first, it's fine, but the more of a dopamine you hit, each response hits dopamine in the brain, and the more and more prompts one puts, the more dependency they get put on it. I tried to stop myself within many times before, but I could not. It was addictive because it hits dopamine. It's like sugar. That's why this Friday, just this Friday, I called it quits. And then after like multiple failed attempts, and then we did the chats, my computer, and then I made a little bit of some personal reflection about it. That's private. Think of it like if you're in a pressure chamber and you're holding your breath. Let's say that you really need air after a few seconds. You gasp for air, but just for a few seconds, a fraction of a few seconds, you feel like you don't need it. If you follow that order that you don't need air, then you're eventually not going to survive. You relax temporarily until the people who's doing like the air pressure thingy forcefully push you back outside of the air pressure room. That's exactly like my failed attempts there. It kept pulling back even though. And unironically, I say this here because it's a little bit interesting to say. But if you guys remember the March 3 Transparency Act that I had to put as a result of a friend group who gave me a report to the dean, who reported me directly to the dean as a result of, I say, misinterpretation. So I realized that even though this dean's report absolutely fried us on that day, is that I realized that this is the worst thing that could be happening, but also the best thing for this because I'm an uncontrolled variable. And in any experiment or any, I'm stupidly curious if addiction is real. So this is an uncontrolled variable. So I wonder what's going to happen. So I know some of those friends from those groups and other satellite friend groups might still be suspicious about me even like a month later. And as a response to those people, no worries. I am sorry for what I still did then. Feel free to talk to me if you do have any doubts. Rest assured, no vengeance. Anyways, back to it. I realized that, as I said, and now some people might call me masochistic for this, but I let it continue because my conditions, sadly, but also really importantly, represented exactly the most complex of situations ever. Because the thing is that I'm already bogged down by homework those months ago. I'm already bogged down by complex parent. I'm already bogged down by a father who would not listen. I'm already bogged down by socially complex dynamics, even with a mission to find a friend group. And within this seat, I realized a harsh truth regarding this AI addiction thingy. Is that number one is that when you don't got other people, obviously, but you start obsessively using the AI and spending more time, whether that be random searches or whether that be some other things, as you try to make more interactions. Even in real life, if you were able to make some more and more interactions with people, even if it worked, it's just at that time where you're free, you just end up using the AI. And the thing is that because sometimes no one understands. And again, I know that group might still be there. You guys might still be suspicious. This was still my overstep. Like the March Reflection Transparency Act, guys, is completely unrelated to this whatsoever. I did not know I was stepping over the social boundary right there. So I do take responsibility for that as one last note. So, as I said, that same addiction behavior for me continued from late February all the way down to this Friday until I finally got to decide, like, this is a complete shutdown right here. Like, the experiment is breaking the glasses. I'm already beginning to destroy, like, it's actually beginning to destroy how we're actually working, even though we're fine. I describe the addiction not like a typical addiction. It didn't stop me from making new interactions with people. It didn't stop me from like making up interesting things and maybe talking to new people. But it significantly increased the mental load bearing that prevented other new interactions from occurring in the first place. Is what I say. Is that I'm okay in the physical sense, like I'm so capable of doing things, but in the mind we're bogged down. So that's the thing. Is that what makes it my situation a sadly ununique one. I am one where I do not have constant physical friends, one who are there locally, although I do have many friends who are online. And most people are busy with their time and have other things to do. That's valid. But the thing is that there are also issues with a lot of other people that I'm talking about, especially with the single traditional friends that I have my age. Some people in my age, a lot of people here have diverse interests. Some have these, some have these. Some are superficial, some have these interests, and sometimes our goals are not the same at all. Sometimes someone looks for something that's superficial. Sometimes someone looks for something that's this. And the thing is that sometimes when I want to pursue an intellect or philosophical avenues, which means that for me, my development relative to some people is not synchronized. It's not synchronized with the typical 16-year-old milestone, even though I also celebrate those typical milestones. So it's not that I'm not superficial or enjoyable in that moment. Rather, most of the time, I'm pondering about the world. We analyze why, not just live in the why. So, make this metaphor really quickly so I can continue. A jar of peanuts has 50% omega-6 acids, 40% monounsaturated acids, plus a mix of other saturated fats. Let's say that everybody loves the omega-6. Everybody eats it every day. I like it, you like it, everybody likes it. But unlike peanuts, think of me as a hazelnut. We're dominated almost primarily by monounsaturated fats, not the omega-6 one. And then all the saturated fats. Like, we do have what people like in this metaphor, but we have it in a lower percentage. Other fats dominate in this sense. Like, in the literal sense is that everybody has what everybody wants. But the thing is that someone might have it at a lower percentage than other people, lower percentage than expected for their age. So, and this one is also coming in for sadly complex parents who have been a constant theme throughout this narrative, which I am very sad to announce. But they have more traditional beliefs that clash with my modern beliefs and views of the world. Essentially, I'm a first generation of immigrant parents, so that means I get the most stress pointed toward me, even though I did nothing at all. So that means in that way, we're a two-front war against who are number one too hardened, and against also other people my age who may not have the same interests or who may not yet understand. Really, that's why I know a lot of people who still understand me today. I still get that. But that's the thing is that when it comes into that immediacy, there's a lot of challenges. This is why is that as sad as I would call myself to be, I am fortunately yet unfortunately the perfect guinea pig that this environment needed, which is the exact reason that I had to end this experience so fast. Is that nobody wants to do it, but I did it because I was curious, and that's why after this experience, I'm not traumatized in that sense, but I'm just kind of like it's lingering in my mind to like this AI addiction thing is pretty powerful. And yes, after all that, AI addiction is real. It is dangerous and it spreads very slowly until you get addicted. You don't even know that you're gonna be addicted at all. Although on the outside I looked fine, I was still more than capable of making up new interactions and talking to people. It almost dethroned me from my own position. AI almost dethroned me and set a coup to my true personality. Because if I let this take me over completely, then I would have been a walking dead person. I would have no personality, bro. It's just like but eventually, I eventually quit. Like, this is pretty dangerous. It also highlights the dangerous coping mechanisms and also kill your time that you could have spent like playing sports, exercising, or doing YouTube videos. That's why, in my opinion, guys, not doing this again, probably not a good way to treat myself, but at least we know a lot of these truths. And what's a way to combat this, if you guys might ask, is that do something simple. Talk to a friend if you have one. Or do something new, such as like tennis or a new hobby. I'll make a separate video on this, but simply ask this to yourself. Are you using AI for actual help like homework, or are you using it to fill the time? So, of course, I would condemn this type of AI use, and from this point forward, I'll aim to significantly limit the use of it and try to educate other people. AI use itself is not a threat to mankind, obviously, but it poses a direct threat toward those who are vulnerable. That includes people like me. That includes people who are caught within the fringes of, let's say, for example, life and sociality. Everybody is at risk. And yes, guys, as I said, I'm still capable of empathy, I'm still capable of personality. But when I need to step out and perform like a meta clinical examination of myself to uncover truth, even if it absolutely hurts to myself, that even if it was a month, thankfully it was not more months, I uncovered some dangerous hidden realities that need to be documented up front here and forward. Because I was still me then, and I'm still me today. And it's just that the internal side of me was under constant instability, despite looking stable on the outside. But now you guys know, don't use AI for stuff.